video we just showed you, shot by a McDonald's employee last Monday. The video has gone viral, so the attack and what's possibly behind it are only now just coming to light. Fox 5's Audrey Barnes is in the Web Center with details of the crime, the charges, and the investigation. Audrey?
Well, the victim of that savage attack says it was definitely a hate crime, and she's threatening to sue McDonald's and the half-dozen other employees who stood by and watched and did nothing to help her.
They were kicking me in my face, kicking me in my back.
It's hard to watch the attack. 22-year-old Chrissy Polis says two girls, one 14, the other 18, spit in her face, threw her to the ground, and repeatedly kicked her in the head. Polis says the girls jumped her when she tried to use the bathroom after one of their boyfriends tried to hit on her. The vicious attack escalated when they realized she was a transsexual.
People who were like me and who are like me, it's a shame they have to go outside every day wondering if they're going to get hurt or if they're going to get robbed or raped.
An elderly woman tried to break up the fight, and she gets hit in the face. As a manager tries to throw the girls out of the restaurant, other employees in their red McDonald's uniforms can be seen standing by watching.
They just sat there and watched it, and there was at least 6 employees there watching it, rooting for the girls to hurt me.
And in fact, the girls rush back in and continue their attack, pulling Chrissy by the hair towards the door, only letting go when she has a seizure. Now, late today, we found out that McDonald's has fired the employee who videotaped the attack on Chrissy, and they may take action against those other employees who were there and did nothing to help her as well.
What would you do if you saw someone, especially a child, in trouble? Would you jump in to help or assume that somebody else would do it? Recently, we went to the streets of suburban New York and put some folks to the test. With the help of 7-year-old Raquel, Bill staged an abduction to see if the public would take action. Raquel's mom, Deborah, watched from a surveillance van as Raquel was approached by Bill.
Hey, where were you, young lady?
You're not my dad! You're not my dad!
It's unbelievable, but they did nothing.
Help me!
Bill and Raquel repeated this time after time.
Hey,
please, someone help me! You're not my dad! Please, someone help me! You're not my dad! Please!
Still no response. One woman walked right by, believing someone else would take action.
go away. You hear me? Don't you ever go away.
And why didn't she do anything?
You think that someone else will take the blame, someone else will take the responsibility.
It took hours, but 2 men finally listened to their instincts.
Help me! You're not my dad! Someone 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 help me!
TV. Cops right there. Cops right there. Good job.
She was saying, stop, someone help me, she's not my dad, he's not my dad. And I was like, first I thought she was being a little disobedient, but then you weren't saying nothing, so I was like, we gotta stop this guy.
They parked the car and I just ran over to get him. Yeah, I was gonna take him down, man. Yeah, that wasn't gonna happen.
And I gotta tell you, all you guys were good. You spread out.
Yeah,
I wasn't getting away.
No, you wasn't going.
You guys weren't letting the bad guy go anyway.
Bill Stanton, good morning.
Good morning.
This is unbelievable. I mean, you watch this and you just think, what is the deal? How do you explain so much of that response?
It's tough stuff. I have goosebumps on my arms right now. It's called the bystander effect. This was a study done a couple of years ago where the more there are people watching something go down, the less likely someone's going to take action.
But here's the thing. A lot of, in some of the episodes there, even though you could hear little Raquel saying, "This is not my dad," and that's the key point. At other times, it was just, "Don't you get away? Don't you ever go away like that?" So it could seem like there was just a child misbehaving, and that you were the dad.
Yeah, but David, I'll put it to you this way: much rather be safe than sorry. Second guess yourself, but at least point it out. Say something. Call 911.
Right, but in other words, is a lot of that background noise for these people walking by? They think, "Oh, we've seen this 100 times. It's just a kid acting up."
No, I think part of it it is we live in a fast food society. Everybody's in tune with what they have to do. They see something going down, go proactive.
Mm-hmm. Now, what about the people who are walking by, they think, okay, wait a minute, am I going to take this guy on? He's a big guy. I got to be afraid of retaliation.
Well, different actions for different people. If you're a big strapping guy, as we saw, and I was proud of those guys, they took action. What you didn't see, there was an elderly lady in the background when those guys took action. She had her hand on the phone calling 911. Mm-hmm. Different actions for different people, but at least they're taking action.
And speed is important here, I would think.
Absolutely. Seconds count.
Mm-hmm. What should people keep in mind? You know, you saw, again, I thought it was interesting that the two guys who ultimately charged you, their initial thought was, well, maybe this is just disobedience. But they kept listening. That's important, right? If your first instinct says, no, wait a minute, this is just a child, you just kind of keep paying attention.
You bring up a good point. You saw how they watched me. They were monitoring. Once they felt sure, there wasn't even communication between the two of them, they took action. I was smiling, and then I got nervous.
Right, exactly. And you say they spread out, they kind of moved in on you, and it was pretty clear that you weren't going anywhere at that point.
Right.
Imagine this idyllic setting when all of a sudden the unexpected. A thief swoops in and then steals something off your neighbor's beach blanket while she's gone. Of course, you would do something, right? To find out, we hire this actress, Havala, and we give her an iPod and speakers. We tell her to lay on her blanket and hang out, no talking to her neighbors. And then after a while, Havala takes off, leaving the iPod behind. Now our thief enters the picture. He walks by Havala's blanket and swipes that iPod. The neighbors notice, but do nothing. According to Colgate University psychology professor Carrie Keating, that's pretty much to be expected.
So individuals who are watching that scenario might be a little unsure about whether or not intervention was actually required.
Could have been her boyfriend coming to...
The greater the ambiguity, the less likely it is for people to respond.
So then, what does it take for people to respond? According to experts, just a little small talk.
Have you been sitting out here long? All day?
All day.
Yeah?
Just a little chit-chat.
It's such a beautiful day, though.
It is, very nice.
No mention of watching her stuff. And then, after a while, our actress leaves. Now, our thief enters the picture, parks himself at Havala's blanket, and swipes that iPod. At first, no reaction. But then...
Is that her radio? Yeah. Hey!
Yo!
Hey!
Bingo! They spring into action. This man follows our thief for over 200 yards, throwing caution to the wind.
Just leave it down and leave. There'll be no problem. I'll take it back.
Just mind your business.
Just put it down.
When she exchanged pleasantries, we are now a little community, maybe?
Having a dialogue with someone is really like a social glue. And it gets us thinking in a different manner.
And if what happened here couldn't get any more troubling, listen to this.
What we also know is that during the 2.5 hours that this crime was going on, several people came, saw what was going on, and either left and didn't report it to the police, or stayed and observed, and in some cases participated in her gang rape.
The victim, found unconscious, was hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries, as a community wonders how a high school homecoming could have turned into such madness. Dan Simon, CNN, Richmond, California.
You know, investigators think as many as 24 people saw the rape and did nothing to stop it or even called the police. What's going on? Tamara Holder, criminal defense attorney, joining us from Chicago. And Tamara, I want to just start with the people who are watching. We know the people who actually took part in this hopefully will be charged, convicted, and sent away, so they never do this again. But is there any responsibility legally for the people who just watched?
Unfortunately, there's really not. We have this no snitch idea in our society, and that transfers over into our legal community. What happens is we have laws that prevent people in California from failing to report the crime of a 14-year-old. But if they're over 14 and this girl was over 14, then really there's nothing we can do. Now, maybe what will happen is these kids who can't be charged for failing to report, maybe they took pictures. Maybe that now they can be charged with possession of child pornography or something like that. I think that's the way that the state can really charge people who can't be charged for just watching. That's the problem here.